However, just when Jason roared angrily and Jean Lee took action to reverse this desperate situation, the powerful liquid was boiling in front of him, on the verge of exploding. Unable to bear it anymore, it exploded with a bang. Bang! Amidst the deafening roar, streams of medicinal liquid splashed out in all directions, exuding an irresistible aura of destruction and spreading in all directions. Time seemed to have stopped at this moment, and everything around him was frozen in the void. In Jason's frightened and angry eyes, the medicinal liquids in front of him were magnified. Every drop of the medicinal liquid contained terrifying. The aura of the elixir is constantly surging, and will be completely released in the next moment. All around, in the square, the eyes of all the people suddenly widened, and the muscles on their faces were twisted, showing expressions of fear and despair. Even Jason's eyes were wide open with anger, just like Jean Bing's eyes were wide open, and he was not angry. His robe and head of black hair were stirring without any wind. This is a liquid that condenses a 9th level holy elixir, and many 8th level and even 7th level emperor elixirs. Once it explodes, its strength is comparable to that of Jason, a 9th level intermediate Holy Spirit Master. Although there will be no, even though lives are in danger, many people around him will definitely be killed or injured in large numbers. This is something Jason will never allow to happen. Give it to me. At this critical moment, the roar like the thunder god's rage resounded throughout the world. In the rumbling roar, Jason's figure completely disappeared, and a black round ball covered the whole world that was about to explode. The medicinal liquid was completely wrapped in it. Technical flow of spiritual medicine one by one, sacred skills, mountain and river routine flow. A roar that shocked the heart and soul sounded, and the void instantly seemed to have entered some strange state, and came to a large starry sky. The rivers flow, the stars rotate, the terrifying spiritual consciousness and spiritual power crisscross the entire void. In the unbelievable and shocking eyes of countless people, the liquid exploded, splashed in all directions, and was about to completely release its endless power, like a stream of water being poured out. Under the misty black light, it was in the void again. The center slowly condensed. The terrifying power of the elixir aura all over the sky suddenly converged and turned into liquid medicine again, merging with each other and reacting. Tisk. In front of the experimental table, Jason's disappeared figure suddenly appeared. His forehead was covered with sweat, his face was red, and his body was trembling slightly. It was obvious that the previous actions made him feel extremely strenuous. However, there was nothing relaxed about Jason's expression. As soon as he appeared, he fell into preparation again. This? At this moment, all the people in the square were stunned. Even the joy of escaping from death was completely forgotten and stared. Dumbfounded, everyone was so dumbfounded that they could hardly believe their eyes. What happened before? Wasn't the liquid medicine about to explode? Yes, I saw it too. The preparation bottles exploded and the liquid medicine was thrown out, but why this outstanding sect? It's unbelievable. After a while, everyone recovered from the shock, their faces flushed, they talked excitedly among themselves, and looked at Jason's eyes, completely changed. If at the beginning they looked at Jason with the eyes of reverence of the most powerful elixir master in the continent, then now, they looked at Jason as if they were looking at a god. Yes, it is God. What emerges from it is endless surrender and worship. Impossible. On the other side, Francis was also shocked and dumbfounded. He made frequent mistakes in his chest. He made difficult adjustments, but his slightly trembling hands clearly showed the shock in his heart. Why, how did this Jason do it? The liquid had clearly begun to explode before, but this Jason actually closed it again. Candace Francis was completely panicked. Because of panic, he also made many mistakes in his preparation. Originally, Francis was planning to prepare a bottle of 8th grade high-grade imperial elixir, but now, after making frequent mistakes, he knew that the possibility of formulating an 8th grade high-grade imperial level spiritual potion has been completely destroyed. After several adjustments, Francis can only give up some things and reluctantly prepare an 8th grade mid-grade imperial grade spiritual potion. Come. No, if this continues, I'm really going to die. After seeing Jason's terrifying elixir knowledge, Francis was completely desperate. At this moment, if he didn't understand, Jason was if his attainments in elixir science far exceeded that of an 8th level advanced elixir master like him, it would be impossible for him to reach this point. After figuring this out, Francis was completely panicked. Haha. At the edge of the square on Jason's side, Rachel, who had rushed forward desperately, stopped when Jason shouted angrily. Now, after seeing the situation reversed, he suddenly let out a hearty cry. The sound of laughter. If he still couldn't see that Jason's knowledge of elixirs was so powerful that it far exceeded his expectations, he would not be worthy of becoming the patriarch of the Bonin family. No, absolutely not, I can't lose. Francis, who was making preparations in a panic in his hands, said viciously in his heart, and his malicious eyes quietly fell on Jason, who was continuing to make preparations. If you can block me once, I don't believe you can block me a second time. A trace of fierceness flashed in Francis's eyes. Chi. 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 The movement of the preparation in Francis's hand slowed down, and he continued to reduce the difficulty of the preparation. At the same time, the 9th level low-level spiritual consciousness in his body was completely released, and he rushed to the foe desperately. Headed towards Jason's location. Thousands of 9th level low-level spiritual consciousness, like a heavy rain, completely covered Jason under the aura of the elixir that filled the sky. The moisturizing substances penetrated into Jason's body silently. Francis knew that if both parties were allowed to continue preparing the elixir like this, the final result would be that he would lose, so Francis would rather lower the level of the elixir he prepared and waste the originally 8th grade imperial level elixir. Changing a large amount of elixir materials into 8th level low-grade imperial elixirs would also completely destroy Jason's preparation. Compared with the chief's inadvertent sneak attack, this time, Francis completely focused on attacking Jason. The preparation in his hand was just trying to keep it in a continuous state. Most of his spirit and strength, all used to attack Jason. This Francis is simply looking for death. After sensing Francis' actions, Jason, who continued to prepare, was completely furious. Before, if he hadn't known how to crack the evil spirit technique, Jason's spiritual consciousness would have been severely traumatized and he would never be able to prepare it again in the future. What's even more frightening is that if Jason hadn't prepared 3 bottles of 9th level holy elixirs at the same time in the Elixir Master Tower, his elixir science had been sublimated to an astonishing level, and he would have exploded in the previous crisis. The medicine liquid that was opened has once again condensed against the sky. I am afraid that the Jiuling City Square has already become a hell on earth, with rivers of blood and countless deaths and injuries. This Francis actually took action many times during the preparation. In order to win for himself, he would resort to any means and even disregard the lives of ordinary people. In my opinion, he is not worthy of being an elixir at all. Jason's eyes, a fierce flash of light flashed through his mind, and he had already made a decision in his heart. The next moment, Jason's powerful spiritual consciousness, which was scattered vertically and horizontally as he was preparing the medicine, suddenly completely converged. The method of preparation was instantly changed from the original spiritual consciousness to the technical spiritual medicine. Since you want to sneak attack on me, then let you taste the bitter pill. Facing Francis' sneak attack with evil spirits, the spiritual consciousness in Jason's mind suddenly became violent and rushed out. Spiritual storm. The counter-spiritual destruction method. Amidst the roar in Jason's heart, unparalleled spiritual consciousness completely exploded. Boom. The monster spiritual consciousness tore into pieces the thousands of spiritual consciousnesses released by Francis. At the same time, a series of strange mental fluctuations went against Francis's attack and instantly entered his mind. Ah! In the square, Francis suddenly let out a shrill scream, and blood suddenly flowed from his eyes, flashing with hatred, not only from his eyes, but also from his nostrils, ears, and mouth. There was terrible bloodshot eyes, and he held his head in his hands, wailing in pain. And because of Francis's abnormal behavior, the medicinal liquid being prepared in front of him suddenly lost control and quickly started to boil. Then one by one, boom. The 8th level Emperor level elixir that was originally prepared exploded suddenly, containing a terrifying aura, turned into monstrous flames, and impacted all around. Not good. Everyone in the square was stunned by this sudden situation. They could only watch the flames spewing out all over the sky, carrying an irresistible power of destruction. Annihilation looked at them with horrified eyes. Just when this terrible flame was about to burn the people at the front. Buzz. A thick, majestic pressure suddenly fell from the sky and enveloped the entire center of the square. Under this terrifying pressure, the terrifying power of flames that erupted instantly solidified, then continued to be compressed, and finally dissipated into the air. A fiery red figure stood proudly in the sky. After destroying all the amazing power generated by the explosion of the spiritual potion, it fell back to the side of the Bonin family. It's Claire. I heard that she is Jason's maid, a 9th level fire type Holy Spirit Master. Countless people spoke out tremblingly, their voices full of gratitude, but they still had lingering fears and their hearts were pounding. There was a thumping beat, a feeling of exhaustion as if he had narrowly escaped death. It is quite normal for the elixir master to fail when he prepares the elixir potion, but it usually turns into ashes. The elixir potion is not successfully fused, and an explosion like this is rarely encountered only once. Only a complete failure will occur. This is the reason why these people dared to stand so close to watch the duel. Unexpectedly, the preparations of both sides suffered major malfunctions today, and explosions occurred twice, causing all the people to experience the horror of escaping from death twice. Ah! In the center of the square, the winter flames dissipated, and Francis was still making a sound in pain. His whole body was in a mess, and everything was scorched black. However, as a 9th level low-level Holy Spirit Master, he was in the previous explosion, but only suffered a slight injury. This, Master Francis, what's wrong with you? Damn it, what's going on? This sudden situation made everyone in the God's Destruction Valley rush forward with fear and anger. It's Jason. This Jason attacked me. It's so shameless. In order to win, he is so humble. Francis pointed at Jason and roared heartbreakingly. What? Francis' words shocked everyone, and they looked at Jason with suspicious eyes. On the other hand, the god of Destruction Valley was even more angry and faced Jason with murderous intent. At this moment, there was a sudden boom. A deafening roar came from the other side of the center of the square where they were looking. In everyone's horrified eyes, an aurora-like blue elixir appeared. The aura rose into the sky from the other side of the square, illuminating everyone's faces. At the same time, an irresistible terrifying pressure filled the air and instantly enveloped everyone in the room. The terrifying pressure dissipated, and everyone was alarmed by this terrifying power. This power was so huge that everyone was like ants facing a dragon, unable to resist at all. This is a pressure that directly affects people's hearts and souls, like a big mountain, suppressing everyone at the bottom of the endless abyss. At this moment, everyone in the audience changed their expressions, their hearts seemed to be filled with turmoil, and their faces turned pale. What is this? What happened? It's Jason. He successfully prepared the elixir. Oh my God, what kind of elixir did he prepare? It's terrible. Everyone said it. Shocked, his face suddenly froze, and then he looked at where Jason was on the ring in horror. There, the terrifying spirit 20 elements condensed, and the astonishing and powerful pressure came down, suffocating everyone. In the sky, the endless wood-type spiritual power went berserk, and streaks of cyan wood-type spiritual power continued to rise into the sky, forming terrifying hurricanes of spiritual power, forming patches of cyan oceans in the sky. The cyan ocean continued to surge, forming pieces of gorgeous cyan aurora. The mysterious and clear elemental laws in the aurora continued to flow, emitting the grand sound of the avenue. Under this astonishing breath of law, Rachel and others felt the insignificance of UNB. This was the pressure of the avenue, overwhelming everything. This is the law of heavenly tribulation, the law of heavenly tribulation when the ninth order holy level spiritual potion is successfully prepared. Rachel's and the others were completely stunned, speaking with shock in their eyes. Although after seeing Jason's powerful preparation before, they were already somewhat prepared for Jason's terrifying elixir knowledge. However, after Jason actually prepared the ninth level holy elixir, one by one, still stunned. The tribulation of laws and regulations turned out to be the heavenly tribulation of laws and regulations. Could this Jason be a ninth level elixir master? Someone in the crowd said in shock. Ninth level elixir master. At this moment, the expressions of everyone in the square froze. Their eyes looking at Jason were full of shock and dullness. The ninth level elixir Saint Master is an extremely huge name. In the nearly 10,000 years of history of Tian High Continent, there have only been two in total. Each of these two people was a well-deserved king of that era. Standing at the pinnacle of the continent, enjoying the worship of countless people. It is really terrifying to be a ninth level elixir Saint Master. The difference between the ninth level holy level and the 8th level peak is not just one level, but a chasm. A ninth level elixir master can train a lot of powerful people as long as there are enough materials, but an 8th level elixir emperor master cannot do this at all. Is the situation in this continent going to change? Many intelligence officers from various forces in the mainland who were hidden in the crowd had dull expressions and murmured in their mouths. In history, each of the two ninth level elixir Saint Masters who appeared in the past eventually gathered a large number of powerful people and established a supreme dynasty. In that era, any force or any powerful person he didn't dare to take the lead lightly, so he chose to retreat. For example, the Boning family, which has been inherited on the mainland for thousands of years, once experienced one of these eras. At that time, the Boning family did not dare to claim to be the #1 elixir family in the mainland. They just lived quietly and low-key in Ejo, not only the Boning family, but also other major forces. At that time, among the 32 states in the entire Tian High continent, at least 20 states were ruled by the 9th level elixir Saint Master. It was not until the death of the 9th level elixir Saint Master that the entire continent fell into melee again. The dynasty of Yuan Shang collapsed, and powerful men were born, conquering all directions and occupying various major states. Because of these two heroic histories, everyone was shocked when they saw that Jason was actually a 9th level elixir master. Rumble. Amidst everyone's dull expressions, a deafening roar sounded, and the law-heavy catastrophe that had been condensed for a long time finally came at this moment. The wood-type Law Avenue, carrying an unparalleled terrifying torrent of spiritual power, turned into a sword of law, instantly crossing the distance between heaven and earth, and blasted towards Jason in the center of the square. Lord Jason, let me resist this lawful catastrophe for you. Seeing this scene, Rachel on the side suddenly exuded terrible holy power, and he was so excited that he wanted to step forward and help Jason through it. This is the law of heavenly calamity. No, Rachel, please step back. However, Jason refused calmly. Facing this terrifying torrent of spiritual power and law attacks, Jason's eyes suddenly burst into light, and at the same time, his whole body suddenly he was submerged in the torrent of laws and began to transcend the tribulation. In everyone's shocked eyes, the black dot that Jason transformed into was constantly rising and falling in the torrent of laws. The blade of laws and the torrent of elements that could easily defeat the 8th level Emperor Spiritual Master could not bring Jason any benefit at all. No harm done at all. This Jason actually prepared a 9th level holy elixir, but the heroic aura on his body clearly shows that he is a peak 8th level Imperial Spiritual Master, a 9th level elixir Saint Master. Why is this in the square? the severe pain in Francis's mind also subsided, but after feeling the state of spiritual consciousness in his mind, he couldn't help but feel gray in his heart. The evil spirit technique he used on Jason is an evil trick that can make the alchemist go insane and make his spiritual consciousness lose sensitivity. Although it will not have much impact on the spiritual power level and strength of the alchemist, it can let an elixir master's spiritual consciousness be damaged and he will never be able to prepare elixirs again. However, his previous attack on Jason had no effect at all. Instead, it was counterattacked by Jason, causing damage to his spiritual consciousness. Now, although Francis is still a 9th level low-level Holy Spirit master, but in terms of elixir medicine, with his spiritual consciousness damaged, he is no longer an 8th level high-level elixir master. From now on, he will not be able to prepare 8th level emperor elixirs, even some low-level elixirs. It is impossible to prepare spiritual potions at all. It's all Jason, damn it, it's all Jason. Francis looked at Jason in the sky, who was going through the tribulation with hatred in his heart, his eyes showing a fierce light. In the sky, endless wood-type spiritual power boiled, and amidst the huge roar, no one knew how long it had passed before the law-heavy catastrophe caused by the preparation of the 9th level wood-type holy level spiritual potion finally stopped. At this moment, a large number of wood-type laws washed down from the sky like a torrent, extremely violent, and all entered the bottle of wood-type saint-level spiritual potion in Jason's hand. The mysterious laws flowed on the outside of the potion bottle. The constant disillusionment gives people a sense of beauty. Sniff. Jason's figure suddenly fell down and reappeared in the center of the square. Francis, you lost, fulfill your promise. In the middle of the square, Jason looked at Francis aside with cold eyes. Patriarch Rachel's and many members of the Bonin family also stepped forward with great excitement. Francis, you lose, quickly close the Yaoxing Pavilion and get out of our 9 Spirits city. You will be destroyed. Goo, from now on, we are no longer allowed to operate the elixir industry. Rachel's and others shouted loudly, their expressions full of excitement. Fulfill my promise? Humph, you still have the nerve to mention it. A strong man from the God's Miga Valley suddenly walked out, his expression full of anger. You are so despicable and shameless. In order to win the competition, you actually attacked Fu during the preparation. Master Francis even injured Master Francis, and still wants us to fulfill our promise. It is a big joke. Let me tell you, for today's incident, if your Bonin family does not give us God's Destruction Valley, if you give us an explanation, we won't be finished. Yes, if you don't give us an explanation, we won't be finished. The other strong men in Shenmia Valley roared out with angry expressions. In the square, the face of Patriarch Rachel suddenly changed. Master Francis, I respectfully call you Master. What do you mean by God's Destruction Valley? Are you willing to admit defeat? Do you want to fail to fulfill your promise? Not only Rachel, Patriarch C and the other members of the Bonin family present also had ugly expressions. Now that Shinmigu had lost the duel, it was obvious that he had no intention of fulfilling his promise. What do you mean? Francis looked at Jason with resentment in his eyes. This Jason, during the duel, actually made a sneak attack on me, causing my preparation to fail. What do you mean by asking me? Today, if this Jason doesn't explain things clearly and give me an explanation, none of you will be able to leave. After the words fell, the 9th level holy power in Francis' body was suddenly released, and the terrifying aura was overwhelming and shrouded in the air. On this square. Wow. The dispute between the two sides caused chaos in the entire Guangzhou Gao Coin Huang. This what is going on? Why does Master Francis keep saying that Jason unexpectedly attacked him during the competition? It is possible. Look at Master Francis's previous appearance. All the 7 orifices in his body were leaking. He was obviously severely injured. Otherwise, with the strength of his 8th level advanced elixir master, it would have been impossible for him to make such a big mistake. That seems to be the case, but you think something is fishy. You know, this Jason is the master who can make the 9th order holy elixir. Is there any need to sneak attack on Master Francis when preparing it? It makes sense. For a time, the whole square was filled with screams and cries of song ships, making it extremely noisy. In the midst of the discussions, some members of the major forces and intelligence personnel were nervously issuing orders. Hurry, this Jason is actually a 9th level elixir master. It's unbelievable. Send this news back to the family quickly. 9th level elixir master, my god, this big thing has changed. Are you there? Quick, quick, it's extremely urgent. This information must be passed back to the family as soon as possible. Members of each major family pass the news back to their own family as quickly as possible. The 9th level elixir Saint Master is really too amazing. His appearance in Dashi will definitely cause a huge stir. If this news is true, I am afraid that everyone will be shocked. You can't wait to cooperate with the Bonin family, and even become vassals. You must know that the vast majority of the big state controller families in Dabigia, like the Bianrich patriarch of the Los family in Duanmu City, Yongzhou, are the strongest. They are the 8th level imperial spiritual masters at the peak, and their potential usually only ends here. They have a lifespan of hundreds of years. Once they fall, the family will gradually decline. The biggest wish in their hearts is that the saint who can advance to the 9th level in this life will once again have a lifespan of hundreds of years, so that the family can continue to be more prosperous. The Emperor Spiritual Master, who is at the peak of the 8th level, seems to be very powerful. His family is also very famous in Dabijiaxi. However, everyone knows that such a family is like a nouveau riche who can only become popular for a while. The families that can truly be passed down the family lineage have all had 9th level saints. However, too difficult to become a 9th level saint, the vast majority of the 8th level peak Emperor spiritual masters could only look at the unattainable realm, sigh, and finally turned into a bowl of lust and dissipated in the wind. Only the 9th level elixir saint master can help them, give them the most favorable support in this critical step, allowing them to advance to the 9th level saint master. However, the 9th level elixir saint master is really too powerful. It's too rare, and it only appears once in thousands of years. However, now, this Jason is actually a 9th level elixir master. Once such important news is spread, it will definitely cause a sensation in the entire world and attract countless people. Family worship. No one was slacking off at all, and they all immediately spread the news back to their families and forces. However, the situation in Guangzhou has become increasingly tense. Francis, you are so reckless. With Master Jason's knowledge of elixirs, why do you need to sneak attack on you? Patriarch Rachel said angrily, with a terrifying look on his face. On the side, Jason looked at Francis with a sneer on his face. This Francis, in order to win, resorted to all means to attack him secretly, and now he was even more savage and shouting, "Catch the thief." In Jason's heart, he already had the intention to kill him. Don't worry about whether he can use it or not. Now that the facts are all there, what else can you argue with? Moreover, this Jason killed our Master Bijia of the Gods Miga Valley Medicine Master Hall and Park Hills Master in Duanmu City. We haven't settled this account with him yet. Francis said coldly. Oh, then how do you want to calculate it? Jason suddenly said from the side, looking at Francis coldly. I don't know if it was because he was seriously injured by Jason in front of him, but he felt Jason's cold eyes. At this moment, Francis felt as if he had been stripped naked and stood in the ice and snow, and his whole body felt a bone-chilling chill. But after all, Francis is a 9th level saint, and thinking of the support of God's Destruction Valley behind him, and his resentment towards Jason, a sneer burst out from the corner of his mouth. How to solve it? It's very simple, as long as just come back to Shinmia Valley with us, and explain it to our valley master. Don't worry, we, Shinmia Valley, will never do anything to you. Miegu will let you go back, and I don't care about your sneak attack on me today, and we can even fulfill the previous promise. How about it? Francis said with twinkling eyes. Lord Jason, don't listen to what Francis says. This Shinmigu has absolutely no good intentions. Rachel said anxiously at the side. What if I say no? Jason said coldly. No? Francis couldn't help but smile. His smile was very cold. Don't think that we can't touch you in this nine-spirit city. Today, no one can protect you. You have to leave with us. If you don't leave, you have to come with us. Francis, it's not up to you to make the decision in Nine Spirits City. Rachel stood in front of Jason with a cold expression. It seems that your Bonin family is determined to protect this Jason. In this case, don't blame us Shinmiegu for being jealous. Francis's eyes narrowed and he looked to the side. On the body of my lad, the elder of God's Destruction Valley, who always stood silently. Elder Maillard, it seems that we can't do anything today. Francis said indifferently. Boom. As soon as he finished speaking, my lad, who had been standing silently and had not said a word, suddenly moved. Who? He raised his hand suddenly, and a terrifying black mist was released crazily from his hands. The terrifying and heart-stopping aura spread across the world and fell on Jason's head instantly. The moment Maillard took action, Francis also suddenly moved. Boom. The monstrous flame breath was suddenly released from his body, and a flaming sword appeared in his hand, piercing Jason in front of him like lightning. The terrible pressure was instantly dissipated. This sudden change made all the people watching around him. The people were all stunned and rushed back crazily. Whether it is Elder Namelid, Master Francis, or Jason, they all have 9th-level Holy Spirit Masters. Once they take action, the terrifying air waves generated by the attacks from both sides are enough to easily destroy a city. At this moment, the hearts of all the people were filled with panic. They no longer cared about watching, and they all retreated crazily. The screams and cries kept resounding, and it was too horrible to watch. Seeing this scene, facing the lightning-like attacks from Maillard and Francis, Jason could not help but feel a hint of coldness in the depths of his eyes. Whoosh! He rose into the sky, dodged the attacks of the two men, and reached the sky above Jiuling City in an instant. Hide, do you think you can hide? From below, Francis's mouth was full of bitter cold drinks. The next moment, he and my lad both rose into the sky, with two streams of light, one black and one red. From two directions, once again swept toward Jason like lightning. Under the terrifying 9th-level holy power, the void was suddenly imprisoned, sealing Jason. You dare to do anything to the young master, you deserve to die. However, at the moment when Maillard's dark attack was about to hit Jason, a rumbling sound suddenly resounded in the sky, and at the same time, a fiery red stream of light came from below. The square suddenly rose into the sky, and the next moment, a huge sword burning with flames, in the eyes of Yuanshu people, hit hard on the black stream of light released by my lad. Boom! A deafening roar resounded across the sky. In everyone's surprised eyes, the black stream of light was instantly split apart by the flaming giant sword. The flaming giant sword continued to attack Myra fiercely. Virtue. The fiery red figure that suddenly appeared was Claire. Humph. Facing Claire's attack, my lad snorted coldly. He stretched out his hands, and streams of black mist wrapped around his hands, shining with the luster of metal. One of the mysteries of the dark element, Netherworld Ghost Claw. My lad said coldly, a black divine rainbow bloomed from his hands, and he fiercely grabbed the flaming giant sword that Claire had chopped down. A scene that surprised everyone happened. My lad, the elder of the Divine Destruction Valley and a 9th-level low-level Holy Spirit Master, was bombarded by the flaming giant sword in Claire's hand. The divine rainbow blooming from his arms was instantly shattered. The huge sword burning with flames fell on Maylad's hands mercilessly. Bang! Maillard screamed amid the huge roar, and his whole body was thrown away. Then he suddenly stabilized his body and stared at Claire not far away. His face was pale, his hands were trembling slightly in the air, and traces of blood were actually dripping from the air. And at the moment when Claire repelled Bonrad, on the other side, before Jason could react, Rachel had already soared into the sky, blocking Francis' attack. "Francis, if you want to be surprised by Master Jason, you have to get past me first." Rachel held an khaki sword and shouted coldly. Amidst the loud shouts, Rachel couldn't help but glance at Claire in the distance, and his heart was filled with excitement. Although he knew that Claire next to Jason was a 9th-level low-level Holy Spirit Master, he did not expect that her strength was so strong. My lad, although he was also a low-level 9th-level Holy Spirit Master, a master, but his strength is still above his own, and he is a formidable enemy. However, he was repelled by Claire with one move and was even injured. Rachel's originally worried and nervous heart was completely relieved. For a moment, in the sky, Francis and Rachel were facing each other, and Claire and my lad were facing each other. In addition, Jason was standing proudly in the void. The God Destruction Valley side that took the lead was completely defeated. Is below. In the sky, the Shinmiegu side and the Boning family side were facing off coldly. The air was almost frozen. Everyone's hearts felt as if a huge mountain was pressing down on them, and there was a feeling of suffocation as if the mountain rain was coming and the wind was blowing all over the building. In the square below, countless people retreated crazily. They looked at the sky with horrified faces. It was obvious that if Jason hadn't soared into the sky before, most of them would have been there long ago. The foe was reduced to ashes in the aftermath of the attack by both sides. In an instant, Guangtong, which was originally crowded with dense crowds of people, was completely empty. Only some disciples from Shinmia Valley and many members of the Bonin family were left standing in a cold confrontation. However, they did not take action, because everyone knew that the decision-making power of this battle did not lie with them, but in the hands of Patriarch Rachel and Master Francis in the sky. Whichever side wins, then the other side, no matter how hard the people at the bottom try, will inevitably be massacred. And after countless people dispersed crazily, they stood in the streets and alleys, looking up at the sky. Battles between 9th-level Holy Spirit Masters were not something ordinary people like them could witness in the past. Such a rare opportunity naturally made countless people blush and look up at the sky, extremely excited. Above the blue sky, Francis and Jason were facing each other, coldly. On the current battlefield, the Divine Destruction Valley side was obviously at a disadvantage. However, there was no trace of worry on Francis's face. Instead, a faint sneer appeared on the corner of his mouth. "Maillard, how are you?" His eyes fell on my lad, whose hands were shaking and dripping with blood. "I'm fine, but Claire is very strong and I can't take her down." My lad shook his head and spoke coldly. After the previous simple confrontation, Maillard already understood that Claire's strength was definitely superior to his own. Although she did not use her full strength, judging from the look on the red-robed girl's face, it was obvious that she had not used her full strength before. "Full strength? You can't take her down?" Francis nodded. I really didn't expect, Jason, your mate is so strong, but it's a pity that today, no matter how hard you struggle, you will die here. There won't be any changes." Francis said slowly, but under this disadvantageous situation, he looked as if he had already won the battle. "That's shameless talk, Francis. I think you should worry about your own safety," Rachel said coldly, holding a sword in his hand. "Really?" Francis smiled indifferently. Under Rachel's doubtful gaze, he turned around and bowed slightly to the inside of the Yaoxing pavilion below, with respect on his face. "Guardian Elder Boz, still please take action to capture this Jason." Francis's move made the entire Jiuling City people who were watching the battle look stunned. "Guardian Elder?" Opposite Francis, Rachel's expression suddenly changed and he looked inside the Medicine Saint Pavilion. In the Valley of Divine Destruction, Master Isaac Valley is the strongest, a 9th-level intermediate Holy Spirit Master, and below him are several elders, all 9th-level low-level Holy Spirit Masters, and then they are the 7th King, who are all Emperor Spiritual Masters at the peak of the 8th level, and below that are some powerful men like deacons. This is the strength composition of Shinmia Valley, exposed to the outside world, and it is also known to the general public. However, as the top power in the Rachel's continent and the leader of the Bonin family, he naturally knows some things that are unknown to ordinary people. In this God's Destruction Valley, in addition to these strong men, there are also some retired giants hidden in the mysterious valley. They do not care about worldly affairs, focus on cultivating, and have extraordinary strength. These giants are called guardian elders in the God's Destruction Valley. Is the guardian of the Valley of God's Destruction. They are the real backbone of Shinmia Valley and the source of Shinmia Valley, becoming the two most powerful forces in the mainland, completely surpassing top forces like the Bonin family. After all, if we don't talk about anything else, let's just talk about the Bonin family. Rachel's father and the old patriarch of the family, Munad, is a 9th-level intermediate Holy Spirit Master, while Rachel is a 9th-level low-level one. The Holy Spirit Master, if Shin Miegu only had superficial strength, would not be able to completely overwhelm the Bonin family and become the two most powerful forces in the mainland. As Francis's words fell, for a moment, countless eyes in the entire Jiuling city were focused on the Shinmia Guyao Xing Pavilion, with surprise in their eyes. What a waste. You can't even handle such a small thing. Fortunately, Lord Isaac Valley asked me to sit here secretly. Otherwise, you would have ruined the big thing. In the astonished eyes of countless people, a cold, full sound of vicissitudes of life came out indifferently from the Yaoxing Pavilion, and suddenly sounded in the world, and the next moment there was a bang one by one. An unparalleled terrifying coercion suddenly descended and enveloped the land in an instant. In the perception of Rachel's and others, the whole world seemed to suddenly darken, and the spirit 20 elements above the Yaoxing Pavilion instantly became violent, forming terrifying spiritual whirlpools, and blue water elements went crazy. Condensed, as if the end of the world is coming, giving people an extremely oppressive feeling. In the violent water spirit element, the astonishing aura of law circulated, and a huge blue element palm appeared out of thin air, aimed at Jason's location, and violently grabbed it away. This is a completely blue palm, as blue as a sapphire, flowing with the light of metal. On the palm, a breath of amazing water law flows, exuding the majesty of the avenue. As soon as this palm appeared, it seemed to have turned into the core of the entire world. Everything around it seemed to disappear. The rich spiritual elements flowed, and wherever it went, the space was shattered layer by layer, directly blasting towards Jason's location. The power contained in the terrifying holy power dispersion is much more powerful than the 9th-level low-level Holy Spirit masters such as Rachel's and Francis. It is actually a 9th-level intermediate Holy Spirit master. Lord Jason. Seeing this scene, Rachel's face suddenly showed shock and anger. He shouted loudly, and stopped in front of Jason like lightning. Bahuang sword battle in Bahuang. The power of the earth elements dispersed crazily on Raisha's body, and the whole figure turned into an earth war god. The light and shadow on the sword in his hand dispersed, and it instantly surged, turning into a sky-shattering sword, shattering the void. The blue palm struck down hard. In the void, the endless earth elements went berserk, and the knife's shadow, with a destructive aura, directly collided with the blue palm. Stupid. A cold snort with contempt resounded throughout the world, shaking people's eardrums. In everyone's horrified eyes, the blue giant palm trembled slightly in the void, and directly shot the terrifying knife's shadow released by Rachel. Turning into powder, vast power swept across the world. Blood spurted out from Rachel's mouth, and his whole body was thrown heavily like a kite with its string broken. He was unable to withstand the opponent's move. Jason, okay? Capture him. The cold snort sounded again, and the 5 fingers of the giant blue hand were drawn into the palm, pressing hard against Jason, and landed directly on top of Jason's head. Lord Jason. Rachel's expression was frightened and angry, and he roared in his mouth, but his body was injured and his face was in pain. He could only watch the palm fall on Jason's head, but he was helpless. On the other side of the void, Maillard had a solemn expression, always paying attention to Claire. Once Claire made a move, he would stop Claire even if he risked serious injuries, because he knew that once Jason was captured, this battle is completely over, and the remaining ones are nothing to be afraid of. My lad couldn't help but feel excited when he thought that Jason was actually a 9th-level elixir Saint Master who had only appeared on the mainland for thousands of years, and that he was about to be captured by his own divine destruction valley. However, what puzzled my lad was that from the beginning to the end, Claire just stood proudly in the void holding a giant sword, without the slightest thought of rescuing Jason. This filled Maillard's heart with confusion, and at this moment, the blue pom-pom had already arrived in front of Jason. Under the violent grasp, the void continued to collapse. Under this huge palm, Jason was like a sailboat under the waves, with the possibility of destruction at any time. Humph. Jason, who had always been silent and never said a word, suddenly had a sneer on his lips. Whoosh! The black épée that had never been unsheathed on his back suddenly rose into the sky and fell into his hand. Jason held the épée with a cold expression and stabbed the huge palm with the sword. The 5 elements are born and destroyed, the cycle of life and death. A voice like the god of death resounded throughout the world. Amidst Jason's cold-killing sound, the black épée stabbed directly into the giant blue palm like a black angry dragon. Superior. It's ridiculous. You, an 8th-level peak emperor spiritual master, want to stop me, Boz. A sneer with contempt and disdain resounded throughout the world, but before he could finish his words, the sneer suddenly broke out. Stop. A scene that everyone will never forget happened. Under the bombardment of the black center in Jason's hand, the big blue palm that had previously slapped Rachel away was pierced. Countless waves suddenly appeared in the center of the pierced palm, spreading to the entire palm. The terrifying aura shocked the 9 heavens and the earth, and the giant blue palm trembled continuously in the void, and then, pung! It was indestructible before, and the brave giant blue palm suddenly exploded, turning into 20 elements of water spirit all over the sky, dissipating in the air, no longer exists. What? This, in an instant, everyone in the entire Jiuling city was stunned, their eyes widened with horror, and almost fell out of their sockets, while Francis had a sneer on his face before. It froze instantly, the muscles on his face were twitching, and he couldn't believe his eyes. Boz, right? You're pretending to be a ghost, get out of here. In the sky, Jason shattered the giant blue palm with a sword. His expression was indifferent, he snorted coldly, and with murderous intent in his eyes, he aimed his sword at the Yaoxing pavilion below. Where it was, it suddenly fell down. Wow! A huge sky curtain was torn open in the void, and the black space crack, like a streak of ink lightning, crashed directly towards Yaoxing pavilion. The terrifying black-boiled heavy sword, packed with irresistible power, fell from the sky and directly hit the Yaoxing pavilion. The void was shattered into pieces, like pieces of white paper, too fragile to be held in a bottle, and the endless spirit 20 the elements are like a vast ocean, and once they crash down, they can instantly split the entire Yaoxing pavilion into a pile of powder and cease to exist. Boy, you're looking for death. At this thousandth of a second, a roar like thunder resounded in the sky, shaking the entire Jiuling city. Under everyone's shocked eyes, the light flew out like lightning from a courtyard deep in the Yaoxing pavilion. This is a figure wearing a blue spiritual master's robe. The terrifying holy power is unbridled and powerful. The entire Jiuling city froze in an instant. Countless onlookers in the city retreated one after another, with incomparable fear in their hearts. Without this kind of chi machine, it is almost impossible to breathe. This figure was holding a translucent blue long sword, and it was menacing. As soon as it appeared, it exuded an irresistible aura. It aimed at the black heavy sword that Jason had struck down and raised it fiercely. Hi! The bright brilliance tore the world apart, and the sword with its blue aura shimmering seemed to have turned into an ancient iceberg, colliding with Jason's attack. Boom! The monster's spiritual power surged, and the void collapsed, revealing a huge black hole. Under this terrifying force, Jason's body suddenly retreated several meters, and Boz released a blue Lu Guang also collapsed at once, and his whole body also fell back more than 10 meters. There are 2 moves, but I will let you know that my Boz's strength is beyond your imagination. Seeing that he was knocked back by the opponent, Boz's face twisted with anger, and his tone cold, blue-green rays of light were continuously released from his body, and the void was distorted and refracted with dazzling light. One of the mysteries of the water system, 1,000 streams of water slash. A cold voice came from Boz's mouth. In an instant, the entire sky seemed to have come to the underwater world. Thousands of sparkling water patterns appeared. These water patterns appeared in each of them. They all exude a heart-stopping aura, and the astonishing flow of water laws. The spiritual power contained in them can easily kill an 8th-level peak emperor spiritual master. Thousands of water patterns flowed in the void, and then under Boz's control, they turned into endless water swords, whizzing towards Jason. Chi! 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 Each water pattern flashed with dazzling light and cut through the void, cutting holes in the void. It flew towards Jason and surrounded him from all sides, like a water blade. A dragnet composed of the ultra-secret sword slashes 3 phantoms one by one. Boz's figure shot forward among the water blades in the sky. The long sword in his hand did not stop, and he stabbed Jason 3 times in a row again. Boom! 3 huge black holes appeared in the void in front of Boz. Each black hole was several feet long in diameter. 3 of them were like blue sword rainbows like sky pillars, freezing the world. After thousands of water patterns and sword blades, go straight to Jason's upper, middle and lower paths. Jason's previous attack had completely angered Boz. As a 9th-level intermediate Holy Spirit Master, he had been underestimated by such a young man. Now, as soon as he made a move, he used his strongest attack. Li Lai captured Jason in the shortest time and regained his glory. At this moment, the terrifying water spiritual power covered the sky and the sun, and a terrifying and astonishing aura spread. The whole world seemed to have reached the end of the world. The world was blue and bright, making it impossible to see anything. Guardian Elder Boz is angry. The 1,000 water slash and phantom 3 slash are his famous stunts. With one strike of the sword, no one will be left alive. No one can stop him. Don't let Jason be killed with one sword. Come on. Under such a terrifying attack, Francis had already retreated far away, with excitement in his eyes, and he couldn't help but roar in excitement. The remaining people also had dull expressions and stagnant breathing. Their eyes were fixed on the exciting battle, and their hearts were surging. Humph, what are you talking about? 1,000 slashes of water? 3 phantom slashes? The pearls of rice also shine, break them all for me. Facing Boz's powerful attack, Jason's expression was indifferent, and 2 streaks bloomed in his eyes. The divine rainbow pierced the sky, and a layer of black armor instantly appeared on his body, covering his entire body with a ferocious face. At the same time, a light blue ripple spread out suddenly with his body as the center. Water space. With a low voice, the powerful spiritual skills attached to the water spirit beads were activated. The water elements within a radius of 1 kilometer were completely controlled by Jason. The water patterns and water blades all over the sky, after entering the water space, making a melting sound of shishi, it became smaller rapidly during the flyby, and completely dissipated before it even reached Jason. In the water space, the 5 elements of spiritual power in Jason's body flowed, and the black heavy sword in his hand suddenly fell towards Boz. One of the secrets of the gold system is to cut the void with a golden sword. The cold and emotionless sound of thunder rumbled in the sky. Boom! A golden light burst out from the heavy sword in Jason's hand, and the bright golden sword rainbow pierced the sky, like the ancient spiritual god, creating the world, the strongest, most powerful and unrivaled golden sword. The sword rainbow tore through the sky, carrying an indomitable and domineering aura, and directly collided with Boz's 3 phantom slashes. Boom! 2 powerful forces collided together, and the void continued to shake and collapse. In Boz's incredibly frightened eyes, the three blue sword rainbows he released shattered instantly, and the water-based spiritual power fragmented. The terrifying storm of spiritual energy scattered in all directions, and then turned into spiritual 20 elements that filled the sky, completely dissipating into the air. The golden sword rainbow in Jason's hand continued unabated after crushing Boz's attack. Like a comet striking the moon, it came to Boz in the blink of an eye. Not good. Boz suddenly paused as he shot at Jason, with panic on his face. In the crisis, he couldn't make any reaction at all. He could only use the blue sword in his hand to strike hard. He blocked him harshly. Bang! The golden sword rainbow hit the long sword in front of Boz heavily. It shattered and turned into a golden sword rainbow that filled the sky, piercing Boz's body. Boz's whole body was like a discharged cannonball. He was thrown away, and blood was flowing from the tiger's mouth of his right hand holding the long sword. The robe on his body was torn to pieces under the cutting of the sky-wide golden sword blade. The whole person was in an extremely embarrassed state, with a large number of wounds left on his body and blood flowing freely. He tried his best to steady himself, his face pale. Pfft! A mouthful of blood spat out from his mouth. Damn it, how is this possible? Boz said with shock and anger on his face. His hands were trembling slightly. The right hand holding the Geo sword was still numb at this moment. He recalled what he had learned from Jason's attack earlier. Boz was greatly shocked by the terrifying power transmitted to him. He looked at Jason with shock on his face. He was one of 6 9th-level intermediate Holy Spirit Masters, while Jason was an 8th-level peak Emperor Spirit Master, but this was the case. In the previous 3 concubines, he not only failed to take advantage, but was injured himself. Boz could hardly believe his eyes, and his mind was greatly shocked. You know, in the first 2 attacks on the foe, Boz could be said to have acted hastily and made mistakes due to not anticipating Jason's strength. However, in this 3rd attack, he had already used his strongest strength, but still defeated at the hands of Jason. Boz couldn't accept it all. While Boz's mind was being violently shaken, Francis, Maillard and others were also looking at Jason in horror. Others don't know the situation clearly, but they, who are also from the God's Destruction Valley, clearly know how strong the Guardian Elder Boz is. That was a 9th-level intermediate Holy Spirit Master, but this Jason seemed to be even stronger than Guardian Elder Boz. This strong shock made their minds go blank. Clea, don't be merciful, kill that my lad, let me deal with this Boz, and fight quickly. Jason, wearing black armor, stood proudly in the void and looked at Claire indifferently. Make a sound. Yes, master. Claire said coldly, and her eyes full of fighting intent focused on my lad. My lad, who was originally very confident, suddenly turned pale. This time he came to Jiuling City to deal with the Bonin family. On the surface, he and Francis made the decision, but in fact, because the old patriarch of the Bonin family, Munad, was a 9th-level intermediate Holy Spirit Master, although he was seriously injured, but for the sake of caution, Lord Isaac Valley specifically asked Guardian Elder Boz to sit in secret and control the overall situation. As the 9th-level intermediate Holy Spirit Master of Elder Boz, as long as the Ling Tian sect does not intervene, they are almost invincible. This is why my lad and the others are extremely confident and always arrogant. However, now, Jason's tyranny when Kong was born, even Elder Boz was no match for him, which made Maylad's heart drop to the bottom. Since the young master has spoken, then you must die. In Maillard's frightened eyes, Claire stared at him coldly and raised the flaming giant sword in her hand suddenly. True Dragon Domain. Fire Dragon Whirlwind Slash. Boom. The giant flame sword slashed down violently, and the entire sky instantly came to a sea of flames. The overwhelming fire spiritual power rolled and turned into a roaring flame. The giant dragon rotated, turning into a hurricane of flames, blasting through the void, carrying irresistible power, and swept towards my lad. It's not that easy to kill me. Before the threat of death, Maelad's eyes suddenly turned red, his face was extremely ferocious, and a terrifying roar broke out from his mouth, and powerful sound waves were heard in the sky above Jiuling City. Echoing, the people in the entire city fell down under Maelad's roar, and many people spurted blood from their mouths, even falling into a coma. An indescribable force rose from Maelad's body. At this moment, he fully unleashed his potential, even harming his own body, in order to be able to block Katia's attack. Boom! In the void, a black stream of light, like a black galaxy pouring from the sky, with endless majesty, collided with the flame hurricane released by Claire. Boom! In the void, two terrifying forces collided. A stream of hot breath spread out in all directions, tearing the space into pieces. The two irresistible terrifying attacks were both annihilated in the void. The invisible power surged, and Maillard's body was violently knocked back in the air. The clothes on his body burst open instantly, and blood spurted out from everywhere on his body. He kept coughing up large mouthfuls of blood, and it was obvious that he had suffered heavy injuries that could not be ignored in the previous fight. "If the master wants you to die, you will never live," Claire said coldly, her eyes instantly turned golden, and an indescribable terrifying pressure was suddenly released from her body. The pressure was so terrifying, as if the devil had come from hell to the human world. That kind of aura made everyone tremble involuntarily. No. Sensing the terrifying aura exuding from Claire, Maillard's complexion instantly turned pale. His body was severely injured and he could no longer withstand another powerful attack. His eyes were filled with fear and panic. It fell on Boz, not far away. "Guardian Elder Boz, save me!" Maillard screamed, turning into a black stream of light and rushing towards Boz like lightning. "Maillard!" Boz also shouted in a low voice. His figure disappeared instantly and rushed towards Maillard's location, wanting to meet him, but before he could make a move, "You're my opponent is me." A cold voice, like the god of death, resounded in Boz's ears. Immediately, a sharp sound broke through the air, and a black heavy sword was like a black angry dragon. It penetrated the distance of the space and came instantly to Boz's body. Bang! Boz struggled to resist, and where the two long swords, one blue and one black, hit each other, violent hurricanes of spiritual energy blew up. The two figures retreated at the same time, but Jason only retreated a few feet. Boz, on the other hand, seemed to be thrown away, flying more than 10 feet in one go. Only then could he barely stabilize his body, and the blood in his chest surged. "Want to escape?" On the other side of the void, Claire looked at Maillard, who was running away quickly, with an indifferent expression. Whoosh! Her figure suddenly blurred, turned into a wisp of flame, and disappeared into the void. Boom! The next moment, the void not far from Maillard's body suddenly shattered, and a giant sword, burning with flames that could scorch the space, suddenly stabbed Maillard. Boo! 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 Under the bombardment of this flaming giant sword, the surrounding void exploded layer by layer, like pieces of broken ice, spreading all the way, and quickly came to Myra behind Germany. Ah! Sensing the terrifying aura coming from behind, Maillard didn't bother to run away. With fear in his eyes, he turned back sharply, and blocked himself in front of him with his shiny black hands. Pung! The flaming giant sword in Claire's hand burst into flames. The amazing power trembled. In Maillard's horrified eyes, his hands exploded instantly under the bombardment of the flaming giant sword. Turned into powder, the flaming giant sword smashed Maillard's hands, but its power remained unabated, and struck Maillard's chest heavily again. Maillard was full of fear, and his eyes widened and his expression froze. Immediately, pung! Silently, Maillard's entire body exploded, turning into a rain of fire that filled the sky, falling from the sky. Floating down from the air, endless spiritual power dissipated, and the heaven-destroying aura made everyone tremble. "My lad!" Now seeing this scene, Boz and Francis both let out frightened and angry roars in the sky, and at the same time they couldn't help but tremble in their hearts. This mainland, will the scene of virtue also be their ending? No, I absolutely can't die here. The desire to survive made the two people's eyes become extremely fierce in an instant. Run away, Francis, run away quickly, go back quickly, and tell Lord Isaac the news here. Boz roared in anger, with a look of shock and anger on his face, turned around, turned into a stream of light, and I want to escape from here. Not far away, Francis also turned around hurriedly. At this moment, he only had one thought in his mind, which was to stay away from here, away from this nightmare place. Whoosh! 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 Down below, countless other masters in the God Destruction Valley had already been stunned. They didn't need to be reminded at all. They all flew up at the first time and exploded in all directions. Claire, come and stop Francis. Remember, don't kill him, keep him alive. Rachel, you lead your Bose family members to snipe the remaining people. As for Bose, I'll deal with it. Jason quickly issued the order, shouting like thunder, rumbling in the sky, and at the same time, he quickly chased Boz, who fled as fast as lightning. Damn it, get out of here. Seeing Jason's flying figure, Boz was frightened and angry. He roared, and stabbed Jason desperately with the blue sword in his hand. Bright rays of light tore through the sky, and countless blue water blades trembled, easily cutting into the void, and flew towards Jason. He knew that he could not kill Jason at all, but as long as he could stop Jason for a moment, you have a chance to escape yourself. Boz, stop resisting needlessly, just die. Jason looked at Boz's flying figure, and a blue light flashed in his eyes. Buzz. The control distance of the water space expanded instantly, and the blue ripples spread rapidly, wrapping Boz's entire body in it. Suddenly, Boz felt as if he had come from the ground into an iceberg. An extremely cold force poured into his body desperately, making him shiver involuntarily. At the same time, a wave of flexible binding force, it surrounded Boz from all directions and wrapped around Boz's body. For a moment, Boz felt as if he was stuck in a quagmire and couldn't move. This Boz had a look of shock and anger on his face, and his body was struggling constantly. He could feel that he was trapped in some kind of weird water space. Generally speaking, as a 9th-level intermediate water spiritual master, he, who owns the water domain, cannot be bound by other water spaces, but the water space released by Jason has a unique mysterious law that makes it difficult for him to break free. Get away. In the water space, Boz struggled crazily, trying to get rid of the shackles of the surrounding water elements. However, suddenly, Boz's struggling body stopped suddenly. He raised his head suddenly, with eyes in his eyes. Looking at the sky not far away with horror. There, Jason was looking at him coldly. Behind Jason, a huge shadow stood there proudly, exuding irresistible power, and the aura of cold murderous intent dispersed, made Boz's whole body feel cold and aroused countless goosebumps, and a sense of extreme danger of death rising in his mind without warning. The God-destroying technique, the God of killing, comes to the world. In the sky, Jason's voice, as cold as the God of death, resounded throughout the world. His eyes were like lightning, bursting with light, and a terrifying and extremely powerful force erupted from the sky. Spurting out of his body, at this moment, Jason seemed to have turned into a god of death. The murderous intention dissipated like a substance, wreaking havoc and destroying everything. In Jason's cold voice, the black heavy sword with great power in his hand, carrying the overwhelming power of cutting through everything, aimed at Boz and slashed down. No, Boz let out an angry roar. Feeling the threat of death, he ignored the struggle. The 9th-level intermediate holy spiritual power surged out of his body desperately, and the water elements in the world instantly became violent, condensed on the Geo sword in his hand, and then at the last moment, it collided hard with the black heavy sword that Jason swung down. Boom! The deafening roar resounded throughout the world. Amidst the violent thunder, a terrifying force spread directly from the center of the impact. The void collapsed, the huge black space hole flashed out, and a large area of space around it turned into a flow of particles, surging crazily. Buzz. The terrifying aura spread, and the black heavy sword in Jason's hand trembled involuntarily. An irresistible force spread directly through the blue sword in Boz's hand. Kaka. Bang. Without any resistance, the blue sword in Boz's hand was instantly covered with cracks. Then it made a huge roar, exploded directly, and turned into powder all over the sky. That extremely terrifying force, after shattering the hard long sword in Boz's hand, passed through Boz's body again without any pause. Pung! In Boz's extremely horrified eyes, explosions were heard all over his body. Puffs of blood mist and blood arrows, like fountains, sprayed out from everywhere on Boz's body. Out! Ah! A shrill scream resounded in the sky, and the next moment, the black épée in Jason's hand swung again, hitting Boz's head mercilessly. The scream stopped abruptly, and Boz's head turned into a cloud of blood mist, completely shattered, leaving only half of his headless body, which was thrown from the sky, bringing with it a cloud of blood along the way. Over Jiuling City, Jason stood proudly in the sky holding a heavy sword, his long black hair flying and turbulent in the strong wind, leaving a shocking scene that will never be forgotten in the hearts of all the people. Dead, the guardian elder boss of the God's Destruction Valley is dead. That's a 9th level intermediate Holy Spirit Master. This Jason, dumbfounded, shocked, and unbelievable expressions appeared on the faces of the entire 9 Spirit City people, showing that they all looked pale and opened their mouths, trying to say something, but in the end nothing came out. Whoosh! In the sky, Jason turned around and turned into a bolt of lightning, which suddenly fell on the square. Boom! At the same time, a fiery red stream of light fell from the sky and landed heavily next to Jason. Master, I have captured Francis. A clear voice sounded. Claire's expression was indifferent. She was holding a person in her hands like a dead dog. It was the man with a face full of fear and blood all over his body. Francis. At this moment, Francis no longer looked as chic and confident as he did at the beginning. His body was covered in blood, his robe was torn, his face was full of panic, and he was in a very embarrassed state. Guardian Elder Boz is dead, Guardian Elder Boz is dead. Until now, Francis still can't believe what happened today. Guardian Elder Boz is a 9th level intermediate Holy Spirit Master. In the Valley of God's Destruction, that is definitely one of the top existences, the strongest person sent by the Lord of Isaac Valley to destroy the Bonin family, but just like this, the strongest person, just now, completely fell, with no bones left, so the strong impact made Francis's heart agitated and his mind went blank. After Claire's capture, his eyes were dull, staring blankly at the black-haired young man standing there proudly holding a black épée. It was such a young man who seemed to be only in his 20s, who completely changed the plan of Shinmia Valley to kill the Bonin family. And it was such a young man whose spiritual aura was only at the peak of the 8th level. It was actually a 9th level elixir Saint Master who only appeared on the mainland in thousands of years. He had strength far beyond imagination. He actually killed the Guardian Elder Boz by himself. All kinds of tastes floated through Francis's heart, full of bitterness. Whoosh! 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 And when Francis's heart was filled with mixed feelings, sharp sounds of breaking through the sky came from the sky. Immediately, everyone's fighting spirit boiled, and their faces, the excited elders and powerful men of the Bonin family, led by Chief Rachel's, landed on the square one after another. Lord Jason. Looking at Francis in Claire's hand, Rachel said excitedly. His face was full of excitement, and it was difficult to describe the excitement in his heart at this moment. Although he was injured by Boz's attack before, the target of Boz's attack was not him, so Rachel was just knocked away and his body was shocked. In fact, his injury was not serious, but just previously, under the leadership of Rachel, a 9th level low-level Holy Spirit Master, many of the powerful men sent by Shinmia Valley to guard Yaosheng Pavilion were all killed by the children of the Bonin family led by Rachel, except for some it didn't matter. Rachel didn't kill all the weak staff. When he thought that the Yaoshan pavilion, which was oppressing him and clamoring all day long to destroy the reputation of the Bonin family, was wiped out by Master Jason, Rachel couldn't help but feel happy. Laugh out loud. Rachel's, I'll leave this to you, I'll go back first. Looking at the empty space and the streets in the distance, with frightened expressions on their faces, they watched the intelligence officers of the major families and Jioling from a distance. Regarding the people of the city, Jason spoke calmly to Rachel. Immediately, the whole person rose into the sky and quickly flew towards the mansion of the Bonin family. Behind Jason, Claire, who was carrying Francis, also rose into the sky, following closely behind. Great Elder Zane immediately sent his family members to seal the medicine holy pavilion and transport all the elixir materials and potions inside back to our family. As for the remaining people in the medicine holy pavilion, as long as they are directly affiliated, bring all those under the jurisdiction of the God's Destruction Valley back to my family, and at the same time, inform the entire continent of the results of today's competition between Master Jason and Francis, as well as the content of the bet. In the square, Rachel showed with the momentum of the patriarch of the big family, he arranged everything in a few words, and at the same time he rose into the sky, followed Jason, and flew away with the family mansion in mind. Rachel knew that although they captured a city today, with the character of Shin Miegu and the huge losses they had suffered, the other party would never give up. I am afraid that it won't be long before Shin Miegu launches an attack on his family. An unprecedented fierce offensive. However, compared to the past few days, today's Rachel, although he knew that the God of Destruction Valley would launch the most violent attack on the family in the near future, his heart was full of indifference and determination, without any timidity. My family and Shin Miegu have already reached the point where water and fire are incompatible with each other, and there is no possibility of a change. Instead of worrying and being frightened, it is better to make a desperate move and still have a glimmer of hope. What makes Rachel full of confidence is Jason's astonishing strength and his identity as a 9th-level elixir Saint Master. The 9th-level elixir Saint Master is an extremely noble status on the mainland. It takes thousands of years to become a master. Come on, Rachel's can imagine that as long as Lord Jason is here, it will not be long before all the major forces on the mainland will send envoys to their families. If the God of Destruction Valley wants to attack the family, it will never be as easy as before. In the center of Jioling City, in the backyard of the family's mansion, in a secret room, Jason and Claire stood there quietly. Rachel stood respectfully aside, and in front of him was the scarred and extremely embarrassed Francis. Jason, tell me, what exactly did you want to do by bringing me here? I admit, I made a mistake. You are so powerful that even Guardian Elder Boz died in your hands. However, if you think that with such strength, you can fight against my god Miegu, then you are totally wrong. The strength of our god Miegu is far beyond your imagination. I can say with certainty that no matter what you have, no matter how powerful you are, it will eventually fall into the hands of Valley Master Isaac, so I advise you not to do stupid things. Put me back quickly, and let me say a few words for you in front of Valley Master Isaac. Well, maybe there is still a chance for things to turn around between us, otherwise, when Valley Master Isaac leads the strong men in the valley to your Bonin family, it will be too late for you to beg for mercy. Feeling Jason's indifference with a look in his eyes, Francis had a calm expression and spoke calmly, but the fear revealed in the depths of his eyes clearly revealed his fierce and evil mood. Listening to Francis' threatening words, Jason's expression was indifferent, without any change in color. He waved his left hand, and a bottle of elixir exuding an astonishing aura suddenly appeared in his hand. This bottle of spiritual potion is exactly the emperor-breaking potion that Jason got from Bijia when he was in Duanmu City. Seeing Jason suddenly take out a bottle of elixir, Francis' expression couldn't help but be startled. I heard from Bijia that this bottle of emperor-breaking potion was prepared by you? Jason's indifferent voice slowly sounded in the room, and he handed the emperor-breaking potion in front of Francis. Francis hesitated for a moment. So what? After saying that, Francis' face became even more confused. This bottle of emperor-breaking potion was indeed prepared by him when he was in the valley, and then rewarded to Bijia. Let him take it when he encounters danger from the enemy in the future, but he didn't expect that Jason deliberately kept his life. Is it for this emperor-breaking potion? Does Jason want to prepare the emperor-breaking potion for him? Francis's heart moved, but then he shook his head. Now, he can no longer prepare the magic potion. Others don't know this. But Jason knew it clearly, and with the strength of Jason's 9th-level elixir master, he didn't need himself at all if he wanted to prepare the 8th-level middle-grade emperor-breaking potion. Or does Jason want the formula for the emperor-breaking potion? The next moment, another possibility popped up in Francis's mind. This time, he thought it was very possible. As the master of the Shinmiegu Pharmacist Hall, he is the top elixir master in the mainland. He knows many formulas that other elixir masters don't know. Perhaps Francis, there is an elixir in this emperor-breaking potion, the elixir of life. Leaves, where did you get these leaves of life? Just as Francis kept guessing, Jason's words rang in his ears again. Leaf of life? This time, Francis was even more stunned. Does this Jason just want this leaf of life? While thinking, Francis shook his head and said, I prepared this emperor-breaking potion. When I was there, I did use the leaves of life, but I got these leaves of life from the elixir treasure house in the valley. What? You want these leaves of life? That's very simple. Except for some I consumed, there are still some in the treasure house of elixirs in the valley. As long as you let me go back, I will give you the leaves of life in the treasure house. I guarantee it with my personality as Francis, and I will never break my promise. Francis looking at Jason, he vowed to speak out. The treasure house of elixirs in the valley? Jason couldn't help but frown. Then do you know where your god of destruction valley got this leaf of life? Francis shook his head. On this point, I ain't got it. Don't know? Jason's eyes suddenly turned cold. In that case, then there is no need for you to live. After the words fell, Jason took a step forward, and as if a substantial murderous aura came out of his body, the child was released and instantly enveloped Francis. The terrifying murderous intent was everywhere, making Francis feel as if he had arrived on the Arctic ice sheet. A bone-chilling chill suddenly rose from his tailbone. I really don't know. Francis immediately showed panic on his face and cried out in panic. However, Jason ignored him and continued to walk forward. A stream of terrifying spiritual power was continuously released from his body. He slowly raised his right hand and slapped Francis with his palm. I said, just when Jason's palm was about to hit Francis' head, Francis suddenly screamed in panic, it's the relic of the god of war. I heard that the leaf of life, I got it from the ancestors of the god of destruction valley and from the depths of the god of war ruins. This is all I know. This is really all I know. The ruins of the god of war? Jason murmured, and his eyes suddenly lit up. The ruins of the god of war. On the side, Chief Rachels suddenly exclaimed. Jason turned his head sharply. Chief Rachels, do you know about the ruins of the god of war? His eyes were bright, and there was a divine light blooming, which was breathtaking. Chief Rachels, do you know the legacy of the god of war? Hearing the exclamation of Patriarch Rachels, Jason immediately turned his head, with a divine light blooming in his eyes. Feeling Jason's doubtful gaze, Rachel couldn't help but be stunned at first. He couldn't react for a moment that Jason didn't know about the relics of the god of war. However, after thinking about Jason's origin, Rachel suddenly realized it again. Lord Jason, this relic of the god of war is the most mysterious place in our Tianhai continent. It is said that it is the relic of an ancient spiritual god. It is located deep in the Extinction Mountains in the southernmost part of our Tianhai continent. It is full of dangers, but it also contains a great opportunity, but there is a very strong restriction outside the ruins of the god of war. It is impossible to enter under normal circumstances. Every 10 years, the restriction will weaken. At that time, all the major forces in the mainland will send strong men to search for treasures. Historically, there are many families who have become strong men and have become major forces on the continent just because they obtained astonishing treasures. Rachel explained in detail. Have a very strong restriction? Every 10 years, the restriction will weaken and you can enter? Apart from that, isn't there any other way to be trapped? Jason's brows couldn't help but frown, and aside, Claire, their hearts also sank. Now the life of the master of Bispham Tower is in danger. There is still more than a year left. The birthday of the god is also about to begin. They don't have that much time at all. After seeing Jason's frown, Chief Rachel laughed. Lord Jason, you don't have to worry, this restriction is indeed opened every 10 years, but, coincidentally, the last time the God of War ruins were opened, it was already more than 9 years ago. In fact, there are still 3 months before the ruins of the God of War are opened again. Huh. After listening, Jason couldn't help but let out a long breath. 3, he can still wait for months. Jason, since I told you the origin of this leaf of life, you should be able to let me go now. In the room, Francis looked at Jason's voice with hope in his eyes. Don't worry, as long as you are willing to let me go, I will definitely persuade Master Isaac Valley. It was me, Francis, who was blind to the mountains before. As a 9th level elixir master, I think Lord Isaac Valley, I will never be rude to you again. Francis said in a pretentious manner, but the depths of his eyes kept flickering and he didn't know what he was thinking about. Let you go? This is impossible. Jason looked at Francis and couldn't help but sneered. Francis, don't think that I don't know what you are thinking, but don't worry, I will kill you because you are still useful. Rachel's. Jason looked at Rachel's aside. I will leave this to you, Francis. You can take care of it yourself. He is the master of the medicine hall of the Divine Destruction Valley, will probably know some things that you don't know, and as he was once an 8th level senior elixir emperor, your boning family may also need some elixir formulas, etc. Of course, if you feel that there is no need for his existence, you can also kill him, and everything is up to you. Jason said indifferently. In your room, Francis's expression suddenly changed, and he let out a shrill roar. Jason, how dare you? You know, the power of our God's Destruction Valley is beyond your imagination. If you don't let me go, you will definitely regret it when the Lord of Isaac Valley comes to your door. Regret? Jason stopped suddenly as he walked to the door. In my dictionary, Jason, there has never been such a thing. These 2 words. After saying that, Jason had already walked out of the room. Master Patriarch, my heart was not long after Jason had just walked out of the room. A hurried voice approached quickly from the direction of the front yard. A family guard came to Jason and Rachel. In front of me. Lord Patriarch, the old patriarch, he is here and said he wants to see Lord Jason. The guard gasped. What? Rachel's face was suddenly startled. Father, how come he is here? His injury, Chemnad has been recuperating in another hidden manner in 9 Spirits City since he was seriously injured by the sneak attack of God Destruction Valley. As his injuries worsened over the past few days, he was basically bedridden, and even walking was extremely difficult. No wonder Rachel was so surprised. Lord Jason. The next moment, Rachel suddenly cast her eyes on Jason beside him. I was originally planning to go and see the old clan leader Munad in person, but I didn't expect him to come by himself. Rachel, let's go. Jason immediately stepped forward and said to the master of Bispham Tower. However, Jason also wanted to meet the domineering old clan leader, Munad. The group of people walked forward quickly and soon arrived in the front yard. In Jason's sight, several strong guards were carrying an old man with pale temples on a stretcher. This is an old man with a huge physique. Even when he is lying on a stretcher, you can still feel his burly figure. However, for such a burly old man, his face is extremely pale and full of weakness, and his body is constantly showing signs of weakness. There is an aura of decay, and the vitality is slowly passing away. Feeling the approach of Jason and the others, the old man tried his best to sit up from the stretcher. His eyes were filled with excitement and his body was trembling as he was about to get off the stretcher. "Father, why are you here? Your injuries are not healed yet. You should rest more in the manor." Rachel hurriedly stepped forward, with worry on his face, and at the same time he wanted to help the old man. "Get out of the way." However, facing Rachel's support, the old man roughly shook it off. From the beginning of the encounter, Munad's eyes had been looking at Jason, with something in his eyes. "Excited. You are really like," the old man said tremblingly, some in disbelief. Jason smiled slightly, swayed from side to side, and the token of the spirit medicine master tower suddenly appeared in his hand again, and he handed it to the old man. The old man whirled the token, his eyes suddenly became moist, and 2 tears fell from his turbid pupils. He knelt down to Jason, "Master of the acting tower, Munad is guilty and has failed. If you fail to manage the branch well according to the expectations of the master of Bispham Tower, please punish me on behalf of the master of the tower," the old man said in pain with a face full of self-blame. "What?" Rachel's face suddenly froze. "Father, why is he here?" "His injury, Kemnad has been in another hidden manor in Nine Spirits City since he was severely injured by the sneak attack in the Valley of Gods. Cultivation, as his injuries have worsened these days, he is basically bedridden, and even walking is extremely difficult." No wonder Rachel is so surprised. "Lord Jason." The next moment, Rachel suddenly cast her eyes on Jason beside him. "I was originally planning to go and see the old clan leader Munad in person, but I didn't expect him to come by himself. Rachel, let's go." Jason immediately stepped forward and said to the master of Bispham Tower. However, Jason also wanted to meet the domineering old clan leader, Munad. The group of people walked forward quickly and soon arrived in the front yard. In Jason's sight, several strong guards were carrying an old man with pale temples on a stretcher. This is an old man with a huge physique. Even when he is lying on a stretcher, you can still feel his burly figure. However, for such a burly old man, his face is extremely pale and full of weakness, and his body is constantly showing signs of weakness. There is an aura of decay, and the vitality is slowly passing away. Feeling the approach of Jason and the others, the old man tried his best to sit up from the stretcher. His eyes were filled with excitement and his body was trembling as he was about to get off the stretcher. "Father, why are you here? Your injuries are not healed yet. You should rest more in the manor." Rachel hurriedly stepped forward, with worry on his face, and at the same time he wanted to help the old man. "Get out of the way." However, facing Rachel's support, the old man roughly shook it off. From the beginning of the encounter, Munad's eyes had been looking at Jason, with something in his eyes. "Excited. You are really like," the old man said tremblingly, some in disbelief. Jason smiled slightly, swayed from side to side, and the token of the spirit medicine master tower suddenly appeared in his hand again, and he handed it to the old man. The old man whirled the token, his eyes suddenly became moist, and 2 tears fell from his turbid pupils. He knelt down to Jason, "Master of the acting tower, Munad is guilty and has failed. If you fail to manage the branch well according to the expectations of the master of Bispham Tower, please punish me on behalf of the master of the tower," the old man said in pain with a face filled with self-blame. As the former patriarch of the Bonin family, Munad had once met the master of Bispham Tower. His heart has always been full of respect and reverence for the elixir master tower in Stern Continent. He has regarded himself as an elixir master since he was a child. A member of the tower regards the Bonin family as a branch of the spiritual medicine master tower. Now, under his leadership, the Bonin family is facing such a huge dilemma. For the Munad clan leader, this is a matter that Yuanfa can forgive. "Old Patriarch Munad, please hurry up. You don't have to blame yourself. This is actually not your responsibility at all." When the old man saw him, he knelt down and cried bitterly without saying a word. Jason felt slightly sad. Touched, he hurriedly helped Munad up. "Ahem." Munad coughed, and 2 mouthfuls of blood overflowed from the corners of his mouth and snaked down. "Father!" Rachel exclaimed, quickly stepped forward, hurriedly supported Munad, and Jason helped him onto the stretcher. "Sir, Acting Tower Master, I am incompetent and cannot accompany you, Acting Tower Master, in the battle," Munad said with pain on his face. He looked like a dead friend, and the breath of life exuding from his body was extremely weak. It was obvious that his injuries were so serious that he could die at any time. "Old Chief Munad, don't say that, let me take a look," Jason said, and the spiritual consciousness and spiritual power in his body had suddenly penetrated into Munad's body. On the side, seeing Jason's actions, the face of the leader of the Rachel's family suddenly showed an expression of anticipation and hope. He had seen Jason's powerful elixir knowledge with his own eyes before. If it were Master Jason himself, treating his father, maybe the injury of his father Munad has given the leader of the Rash's clan a headache and anxiety these days, but there is no way to do it. His heart is full of frustration. However, now, Rash's heart is once again became active. He stared at Jason for a moment, hoping that Jason would say something with a solution. Time passed bit by bit, and after a moment, Jason, who had been calmly observing, suddenly showed a relaxed expression on his face. "Brush." The next moment, a bottle of elixir exuding an astonishing aura of elixir appeared in Jason's chest. As soon as this bottle of elixir was taken out, the wood spiritual power in the whole world went berserk, and there were astonishing waves. The laws of elements are constantly shining in the void. This is Patriarch Rachel's eyes widened. He recognized at a glance that this bottle of elixir was exactly the bottle of 99 potions prepared by Jason when he competed with Francis. A holy level spiritual potion. "Munad, although your injuries are serious, they are not incapable of treatment. The reason why you cannot recover is because as a wood spiritual master, the wood spiritual power laws and the origin of life in your body have been severely damaged, is slowly declining, and there is still some metal spiritual power left in your body, which is constantly destroying your body. This bottle of wood holy potion can just combine the laws of wood spiritual power and life in your body. The origin is completely restored." Jason briefly explained the efficacy of the wood saint potion, and then carefully poured the wood saint potion in Huzhong into Munad's mouth. As the liquid-emitting cyan light slowly entered Munad's body, dazzling green lights suddenly appeared on Munad's body. Chi! 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 Sounds of dissolving spiritual power sounded, and Munad felt like he was in a soft furnace, with streams of wood containing terrifying energy. The power of life penetrated his whole body instantly. Under the surprised gazes of Munad, Rachel, and others, traces of golden mist continued to rise from his body, and then dissipated into the air under the illumination of green light. At the same time, Munad's body was also recovering under the effect of the wood saint potion, and terrifying power continued to rise in his body. Boom! Finally, an unspeakable pressure descended on the world. Munad, who was originally lying on a stretcher, suddenly burst out with an astonishing pressure, shocking Rachel and everyone present. On the stretcher, the coercion representing the 9th level intermediate Holy Spirit Master was suddenly released, shrouding the entire mansion, making everyone tremble. "Father, what are you?" Rachel's face suddenly showed joy, and he spoke in surprise. Under his gaze, just for a moment, he was originally extremely weak, and his whole person seemed to be terminally ill, and his face turned pale. The father who is about to die, now his face has become extremely rosy, full of vitality, and his whole figure seems to be glowing with a second spring and radiant. Unlike Munad also looked at his body in a daze, with an excited look on his face. He who was originally extremely weak actually jumped up and stretched out his hands in a daze. In Munad's perception, in this moment, the wounds in his body that could not be healed these days have been healed at this moment. An extremely strong wood spiritual power is flowing in his body, making him feel that he is in an unusual state. Good. Not only that, Munad could even feel that the 9th level golden spiritual power that remained in his body, which could never be removed, like a tarsal maggot, was completely dissipated under the treatment of the previous bottle of spiritual potion. The meridians, muscles, and fascia all over his body have reached their optimal state, and the rich with spiritual power is surging, and they are actually more powerful and full of vitality than before he was injured. Lord Acting Tower Master, the spiritual potion before was. Munad looked at Jason with an inexplicable light in his eyes, and his eyes were full of disbelief. You must know that he himself is an 8th level senior, the Imperial Medicine Master. He clearly knows how serious the injuries in his body are. Even he is powerless. Even with his 9th level intermediate strength, he is so seriously injured. He could only wait to die slowly, but now he was easily cured with a bottle of spiritual potion from Jason, which greatly shocked Munad's mind. Father, this elixir was prepared by Master Jason when he competed with Francis before. It is a 9th level holy elixir. On the side, Rachel, who was looking excited, couldn't help but said. 9th level holy elixir. The expression on Bode's face suddenly froze. 9th level elixir masters are too rare on the mainland. They only appear once every few thousand years. In the history of Tianhai continent, there are only 2 in total, which shows their rarity. And precisely because the 9th level holy elixir master's rare 9th level holy elixir is basically a legendary existence among the major forces in the mainland, no force can possess it at all, just like the Bonin family, which dominates the Tianhai continent. The number 1 elixir family has never had a 9th level holy elixir for thousands of years. Therefore, after hearing that what Jason had given him without hesitation before was actually the 9th level holy level elixir, the shock in the heart of the old leader Munad was as if a magnitude 10 earthquake had occurred and he was completely stunned. While Jason was rescuing Munad, everything that happened in Jiuling City today spread throughout the Tianhai continent at an extremely fast speed. The news has never been as fast as today. Like the wind, in the blink of an eye, it blew across the entire continent and shocked everyone. Qingzhou, in the south of Tianhai continent. This is a magnificent mountain range. There are a large number of majestic buildings in the mountains. They are located all over the mountains. The spiritual energy flows in the mountains, just like a fairyland. And in a valley in the deepest part of the mountain range, there is a group of luxurious palaces, which are magnificent and magnificent. Some strong men with amazing auras on their bodies are sitting in various places in the palace. Here is where the God's Destruction Valley, one of the 2 most powerful forces in Tianhai Fulu, is located, and the huge palace in this valley is the core of the God's Destruction Valley. As the most pinnacle force in the continent, the strong men in the Valley of Gods are usually majestic, with majestic weapons, looking forward to the glory, walking like dragons and tigers, and menacing. However, at this moment, there is a feeling of anxiety flowing in this luxurious palace. There was a chaotic atmosphere, and the faces of many powerful men were gloomy. It was obvious that something extremely serious had happened. Damn it, it's really despicable, how could this happen? An angry roar came. In a gorgeous hall deep in the palace, a middle-aged man with a gloomy face was roaring angrily. His eyes were sharp as a sword from the sky, full of eagles and vultures, with a ferocious look. Below him, there are still more than a dozen strong men exuding terrifying auras sitting on their bodies. Among them, 3 old men have laws flowing around their bodies, exuding terrifying pressure. Looking at the auras, they are obviously 9th level Holy Spirit Masters. If such a figure appeared on the mainland, he would definitely be a powerful overlord who would shock everyone. However, at this moment, people like R were frightened. In front of this middle-aged man, everyone was silent, and no one dared to make the slightest sound. Where did Jason and Claire come from? Why have I never heard of them on the mainland before? When did a 9th level Elixir Saint Master appear on the Tianhai continent? He is an Elixir Saint Master of the same level, and he dares to kill the strong men in our God's Destruction Valley. It's too presumptuous, and they are too presumptuous. It's really abominable, and they deserve to die. They simply deserve to die. The middle-aged man's eyes were red and he roared angrily. His body trembled, indicating his angry mood at the moment. Lord Isaac, the Bonin family, and those Jason and Claire are really too presumptuous. First they killed Dharma King Parkhill and Master Bijia in Dwanmu City, and now they even killed them in Jioling City. He killed Guardian Elder Boz and Elder Maillard, and even imprisoned Master Francis. He was so arrogant and rampant. This if our God's Death Valley didn't respond, I'm afraid the reputation of our God's Death Valley would be ruined. The entire continent is ruined. Below, one of the 3 powerful 9th-level Holy Spirit Masters spoke out indignantly, with a crazy expression. Yes, Jason and Claire are too presumptuous. Master Isaac Valley, if this revenge is not avenged, how will our God Destruction Valley gain a foothold on the mainland in the future? Moreover, Jason is actually a 9th level if we don't take action against the Elixir Saint Masters first, after they grow up, although we, the God of Destruction Valley, will not be afraid. A 9th level Elixir Saint Master will also bring huge trouble to the valley. Revenge, we must take revenge, kill all the members of the Bonin family, and capture Jason and Claire back to the valley. Only in this way can our God's Destruction Valley be able to frighten all those who try to challenge the majesty of our God's Destruction Valley. The big families. In the hall, many strong men from the God's Destruction Valley spoke out one after another. Their expressions were excited and their faces were ferocious. Revenge, revenge, it's easy to say, it's up to you. Don't get enough revenge and get yourself involved instead. Valley Master Isaac said angrily, then Jason and Claire don't know what happened. Practitioners, judging from the intelligence that has been sent back so far, Jason killed Guardian Elder Boz with 1 person. His strength is definitely comparable to that of a powerful 9th-level intermediate Holy Spirit Master, and Claire, according to the intelligence as he said, his strength is far superior to that of Elder Maillard, probably equivalent to a 9th-level intermediate Holy Spirit Master. In addition to some strong men from the Bonin family, if there are not 3 powerful 9th-level intermediate Holy Spirit Masters or above, otherwise, it would be difficult to kill and capture them all in the main hall. Lord Isaac's head wrinkled again and he murmured in his mouth. 3 9th-level intermediate Holy Spirit Masters in the main hall. Several strong men looked at each other. In this case, Lord Isaac Valley, you will enter the valley and kill all the guardian elders in our God's Destruction Valley. Please come out. I don't believe that we can't kill Jason and the others. Please come out of all the guardian elders? Valley Master Isaac shook his head, his red eyes began to become clear, and he had obviously got over his anger. No. This matter is of great importance. The key is the identity of Jason, the 9th-level Elixir Master. I need to think about it carefully. You should step back first. Yes, Lord Valley Master. Many elders and Dharma kings stood respectfully. Got up, and then retreated one after another. Looking at the backs of everyone leaving, Valley Master Isaac disappeared and turned into a stream of light, rushing out of the entire gorgeous palace and flying towards the depths of the valley. After a while, after entering the Valley of Gods Miga Valley, a hidden place. This hidden place is located in the deepest part of the valley, where the rich spiritual elements are floating, and the laws of the elements are revealed, giving people an extremely shocking feeling. Who is it? Just when Isaac Valley Master landed in this hidden space, a voice full of pressure and anger sounded. Immediately, 2 figures walked out from the depths of the valley, looking at him with sharp eyes. Isaac. These are 2 old men with gray hair and beards. They exude an astonishing aura. The surging aura circulates with the mystery of the law, giving people an extremely majestic feeling. Looking at this appearance, these 2 people are actually 9th level. Intermediate Holy Spirit Master. It turns out to be Isaac Valley Master. As soon as the 2 people saw Isaac, their originally vigilant eyes suddenly relaxed and became extremely friendly. 2 guardian elders, please tell our ancestors to say goodbye to Isaac. Isaac said respectfully to the 2 of them. Lord Isaac Valley, wait a minute while I go to report. One of the old men nodded and was about to walk towards the deepest part of the secret space. There is no need to inform you. I already know what happened in our God's Destruction Valley. On our continent, after more than 3,000 years, a 9th-level elixir Saint Master has appeared again. A voice full of majesty, the old voice suddenly appeared in the valley and instantly reached the ears of everyone. Ancestor. When Master Isaac and the two guardian elders heard the voice, the expressions on their faces suddenly became extremely respectful. They bowed deeply to the depths of the secret space, not daring to show any slight or disrespect. Under Chow Lao's voice, the three of them lowered their heads with respectful expressions. Then Jason has killed many powerful people in the Divine Destruction Valley, and he is also a 9th-level elixir Saint Master. He is also extremely powerful. Please give me some advice from our ancestors. What should Isaac do? Isaac said respectfully. It is the highest secret in the valley. Except for him and a few two guardian elders, no one else knows about the ancestor. This ancestor is the secret weapon, the killer of the God's Destruction Valley, and also the reason why the God's Destruction Valley has become the top in the continent. The true support of one of the two major forces. What to do? You don't have to do anything now. The old voice sounded again in the valley. The 9th-level elixir Saint Master is not a trivial matter. It is enough to attract many forces on the mainland to seek refuge. I am afraid that the Lingtian sect, they will all change their previous detached attitude and go to win over them, but that doesn't matter. Only eternal strength is the most real. There is still more than a year to go, and the day of the birth of the god on the Stern Continent is coming soon. Both the Lingtian sect and the Lingtian sect will go to the Stern Continent. Now I am practicing a magical skill in seclusion in order to completely suppress the Lingtian sect's one on the birthday of the god. So, you don't need to do anything now. It will probably take a few months for my magical skills to be completed. At that time, as soon as I come out of seclusion, I will personally go to Jiuling City to capture Jason. Before that, you need to practice hard, and the relics of the God of War are about to be opened. This time, we in the God of Destruction Valley must get the real relics in the secret realm without any loss. The day of the birth of the god? Ancestor, listen. It is said that it is related to the possibility of being promoted to the spiritual god. I wonder if it is true. Valley Master Isaac said with curiosity on his face. Yes, the birthday of God happens once every 100 years. It is extremely important. It is the most important thing for the top powerhouses of our Tianhai continent, as well as the distant Stern Continent, the Arctic icefield and many other forces. Among them, there is the opportunity to advance to the 10th level. The opportunity of the spiritual god should not be missed. Once we become a 10th level spiritual god, our God Destruction Valley will become the largest force in the Tianhai continent, let alone become the largest force in the Tianhai continent. Even if we can unify several continents, it is not impossible. Therefore, compared with this, although Jason is a 9th-level elixir master, it is sensational, but at this critical moment, it is not important. Okay, stand down. The old voice fell completely silent. Yes, ancestor, Isaac remembers it. Isaac withdrew. I didn't expect that in our Tianhai continent, a 9th-level elixir Saint Master would appear again. But it's really strange. Jason has never heard of this before. How could he suddenly appear? There must be a demon when something goes wrong. It's really strange. Weird, but I can't worry about that much for the time being. When I achieve great success, all obstacles will be swept away by me. In the deepest part of the secret space, there was an old man, bathed in light, his eyes shining with brilliance. He made a sound, and then slowly closed his eyes, lifeless, and when Isaac obeyed the words of his ancestors and did not take any action, he was in Shenzhou in the east of Tianhai continent. On a high mountain that towers into the sky, there are rows of elegant buildings. This is where the Lingtian sect, one of the two major powers in the mainland, is located. What? Then Jason turned out to be a 9th-level holy elixir master. During the preparation process with Master Francis, the master of the gods' Migu Valley Medicine Master Hall, he prepared a 9th-level holy elixir, and it was even more powerful. It is also shocking to the world. Even Boz, the guardian elder of the gods' Destruction Valley, was killed by him. In a gorgeous palace halfway up the mountain, a middle-aged man with extraordinary momentum suddenly stood up, with tears on his face. He showed a surprised look. Master Michelson, you are right. According to the information passed down by the sect's intelligence personnel, Jason did kill the guardian elder Boz with his own hands, and even prepared a 9th-level holy elixir. There can be no mistake. Not only that, according to the observations of intelligence personnel, in addition to Jason, his waitress named Claire seems to be extremely powerful, comparable to a 9th-level intermediate Holy Spirit Master. Below the main hall, there were many strong men, exuding an astonishing aura. One of the old men spoke slowly, and his words also attracted exclamations from countless strong men in the hall. 9th-level intermediate Holy Spirit Master, 9th-level Elixir Saint Master, I didn't expect that there is such a strong person behind the Boning family. No wonder the Boning family couldn't support it under the pressure of the gods' Destruction Valley. But we still rejected the terms proposed by our Lingtian sect. One of the old men said with sudden realization. On the Tian High continent, there are two top forces, Shin Miegu and Ling Tian sect. These two major forces are naturally extremely hostile. Although there is little conflict on the surface, secretly, both sides wish to destroy each other as soon as possible. In order to gain the status of the #1 elixir force in the mainland, Shin Miegu wanted to control the entire continent's elixir materials and elixir sales, and tried its best to suppress the Boning family. As another major force, the Lingtian sect was naturally incomparable to the Boning family. In difficult times, we have been in contact with each other. Facing the life and death of the Boning family, which was in danger and could overthrow the nest at any time, the Lingtian sect lion opened his mouth and expressed that if the Boning family was willing to join the Lingtian sect, they would become a spiritual medicine hall in the Lingtian sect, equivalent to the status of the medicine master hall in the gods' Destruction Valley. The Lingtian sect was willing to bear the tomb attack of the gods' Destruction Valley on behalf of the Boning family. When the Boning family was in trouble, it was Munad's old patriarch, B, who was hit hard by a sneak attack. The family was struggling in the elixir pavilions across the mainland. I can only promise myself that after all, as long as I join you, you can find a way out, otherwise, there is only one way to die. This is something everyone can see, but they did not expect that this proposal was rejected by the Boning family without hesitation. Denied. After not reaching an agreement, the two parties later held several discussions. The Lingtian sect's request was that the Boning family must join them and become one of their own. They could also protect each other, but the Boning family was absolutely unwilling to join the Lingtian sect. In this way, after several negotiations, the cooperation between the two parties came to an end. What the Lingtian sect doesn't know is that if the Boning family is just an independent family in Tian High continent, perhaps, in the face of life and death, the Boning family can only agree to prevent the entire family from being destroyed. But in fact, the Boning family, it is a branch of Stern Continent's spiritual medicine master tower, so it is naturally impossible to join the Lingtian sect. Naturally, many strong men in the Lingtian sect don't know this. They just feel that the Boning family is ignorant. In the end, when they can no longer support themselves, they will still agree to their terms, and they all wait to see the good show. However, not long ago, the news that came back from Jiuling City shocked them all.